As is often the case, these are 9th graders. The minyan starts late and gets shortened to 25 minutes. Students giggle and wriggle and laugh when their teacher asks them when they feel close to God. When I got a haircut this weekend and classical music was playing, I felt like God was there. One boy responds, barely able to complete the sentence before busting up in hysterics along with many of his classmates. Some girls in the back are despondent and impatient with these boys' antics. The teacher asks if she should take him seriously, trying mightily to show her students respect and to dignify this time that's meant for meditative and calm reflection. But clearly she's frustrated and exhausted by what has been an ongoing power struggle all year. Yes, the student replies, squeaking like a balloon, trying not to let all that air out for another round of laughter. The tension in the room is palpable. The students are giddy with anxiety about talking about the topics in these ways and with each other. Talking about God and belief and spirituality all feel enormously silly and awkward to them and remain a mystery how they fit in with anything else during the rest of their regular, normal day. Later, the teacher asks students to pair up and arm wrestle with their partners, an activity she uses as a physical metaphor to elicit what she calls midot, or virtues, that had been referenced earlier in the year. Although the teacher was trying to highlight virtues such as strength, stamina, patience, kindness, moderation, and judgment, the students glean a different list of traits from their arm wrestling. They're confused as to how their list of traits, which include a flat surface, arms, power, eye contact, relate to anything. Finally, students are asked to take out their journals and make a list of things that constitute their spiritually healthy, ideal body. There's chatter about the task as they begin to write, and the teacher roves the room. Comments such as, "What if I can't think of any more for my list?" and "Stop kicking me. I can't sit next to you anymore," define the tone of the room.
I feel really frustrated because just recently a specialist in the field, Saul Wax, came to our school and made a point that really it comes from the top, which I totally agree with, that if the teacher isn't comfortable, there's no way you can then come and demand from a child to be comfortable. At the same time, I feel frustrated because my overall feeling is that there's a lot of, like, we can all identify the problem and we can point fingers forever, but I think that it's how do you then take someone who is really a formed adult and help that person, connect, or, I just think there's a lot of onus that gets thrown at the teacher at this point.
Absolutely.
And
there's a huge burden.
Me a little,
Okay.
As a teacher,
Okay.
just feeling like, well, it's not really the kid's fault, it's your fault. And so how can you help me? I also grew up as a child with probably a lot of the same, with very similar environments. So that's where I come from, and maybe some place in my life I was able to maybe deconstruct that and turn it inside out. But then, can you really put that on paper? Like, how do you explain how that happens? And I just feel frustrated.
Yeah.
That is a constant problem in our school, and I put it in the context of, would AP English ever dare start late? Right? So,
Not twice in a row, probably.
Right. So is it the structure of how it's been built? Is there nothing? Is there no environment being set in advance? Is it the message
It's Judy's
coming
question.
from on top? Kind of, where does all of that start?
Yes.
That leads to this place where it always happens. It's the same thing in our school. I mean, she asked us to start at 10 to 10. None of the classes are there before 5 to. Why? Now, why is that in administration? Where does all of that come from? And how do we put Tali in the same place that we put all of the other important things that we teach?
One of the things that we know about Israel education and prayer education is that we lack rationales for them. Conscious, systematic rationales for why we teach them. Teachers are so articulate about why we teach general studies. We can get right down to where this unit fits in. We know our alignment from goals to EUs to goals to objectives. All of a sudden we look at Israel education. Well, we're Jewish. How can we not teach Israel in this school? We can do better, right? What's the motivation for learning about tefillah and Jewish life? I want us to throw out some ingredients to you that I noticed when I did my own research of what seems to contribute to durability, or what I metaphorically call educational jungle gyms. Ever been to one of those jungle gyms, my gyms, Gymboree, where you could go, you take your kids, and they can do whatever they want, and it's really hard to break something in there, right? Versus how you feel when you walk into a china shop, a crystal shop, the dish aisle at Bed Bath & Beyond. Okay, think about your body language when you walk through those spaces. Sarah just showed us, right? You kind of hold your breath, and when you get out, you heave a huge sigh of relief. I didn't break anything, okay? Hopefully, okay? Because there'll be a price to pay. You'll feel embarrassed, right? I wonder how we could make, and very often, these Jewish studies environments and prayer at the core of them become china shop learning environments instead of educational jungle gyms. And I want to offer you some ingredients now of the difference between them. On the one hand, the general studies classrooms that I walked into, and almost entirely in this particular school, felt more or less, and usually more than less, like jungle gyms. And they included critical rigor. Teachers and students were asking real questions and allowing real answers. What do I mean by real? I mean genuine. I mean there were no taboos, there was no censorship, there was no filtering of, well, we can't go there with this. We can't talk about the author's homosexuality. It's open. It's on the developmentally appropriate, of course, but that there is a critical rigor. A great example of this was a class on Shakespeare that a literature teacher went up and said, he was talking about Hamlet, but in brackets sort of added Romeo and Juliet is the worst play Shakespeare ever wrote. It's flat, falls on undeveloped characters. But anyways, let's get back to Hamlet. And the student said, wait, tell us more. Why didn't you like Romeo and Juliet? And they weren't trying to derail him, as students can do well. They really wanted to see him perform this magic trick of deconstructing and taking apart and criticizing from within something that they know he loves dearly. And he did it, and he went into why Romeo and Juliet isn't great, and that shows excellence in the field. How would that look in a Jewish text class? Do we ever have the teacher or the rabbi? Often at day schools, the Jewish text class is taught by a rabbi instead of an educator, and they say, this is the worst midrash ever written. And here's why. The proof text is absolutely weak. It's the thinnest connection I've ever seen. The links are flat, it's racist, it's totally built on false assumptions, it can't apply to us today. Then the student says, wow, there's a sense of excellence in this field. There are bad midrashim, there are good midrashim. And Judaism survives, Shakespeare survives, the students survive, the teacher survives. There's a pillow in that room, lots of them. Okay, so that's what I mean by critical rigor. Humor is something, unlike anxiety, that allows also for that elbow room, the buffers for learning. Okay, I saw a lot of humor used in math classes because there's a lot of anxiety in math classes. And math teachers know that they need to be able to poke good, fun humor at their own work. One teacher said, told a joke, hey guys, do you know what was the joke? That a pie is, want to hear about how a pie is round? And they said, yeah. And she said, no, pies are squared. And they all said, oh my God, math teachers are such dorks. And she said, oh, I heard that at a math party. And they said, you went to a math party? Oh my God, she goes to a math party. And she says, I'm just kidding, I don't really go to a math party. They say, look at her face, she's not kidding. And I again do this exercise. What students have said, rabbis are such dorks. You guys go to Jewish parties and tell Jewish jokes and text, and it's so dorky. Are the students permitted to talk about that? I would be thrilled to see that, actually, because for me, that shows that we've got the same durable educational jungle gym, that we're not so defensive, we're not so anxious about survivalism, that Judaism survived previous generations for thousands of years. It's going to survive us too. Play both allows and requires us to imagine and believe in our capacity for the future.